Warning. Video contains flashing lights. Do not watch if epileptic. I am not responsible if you are stupid.
I decided to put it all on one bet, one horse in one horse race, the Cheltenham Gold Cup in March 2018. If it didn't win, it had literally become a matter of life and death, and I was going to go and kill myself.
The house always wins. A phrase that, as cliche as it may sound, rings true in the end no matter which way you look at it. Casinos or any other form of gambling is designed so that the casino itself, or house, wins in most cases. No matter what you choose to participate in, you lose money in the end. You may win a sizable fortune, but you are still losing in one way or another. Gambling as a whole is something that, if given the chance, you should not partake in. There's a reason rules are put in place to stop children from playing poker, just like the same safeguards put in place for narcotics. It's a disease, one that affects many people, and yet, it is still a very profitable business. Products that can and will cause harm will always be used to target children if given the chance. They are undoubtedly a market that is easily persuaded by gaslighting and bright colors and FOMO. It is really not hard to get children to buy slop. If they are the demographic and have access to at least one credit card, they will find a way. In order to understand what I'm about to tell you, you need to keep in mind something. Gambling is not exclusive to table games and slots. Yes, that is a form of gambling, but that's all it is. A form. Addiction as a whole can weave its brainworms into your wormless thought machine in more ways than one. And one of those ways is through gaming. Enter stage right, Roblox.
この短い休憩時間はゲーマーカップスによってお届けします。美味しい飲み物、ペトフレンドリー、糖質ゼロ、とてもクールです。コードパッポをご利用いただくとご注文が 10% 割引になります。定期的にスケジュールされたブロードキャストに戻ります。
Before we go any further, I just want to make it clear that this is not meant to be an attack on any of the games featured. I'm not one to yuck someone's yum, but I do think you should be aware of what you're consuming. If any developers of the games I'm covering here are watching, I do hope you understand where I'm coming from and try to improve where you can. I know most of the stuff definitely takes time to create, but there are definitely better methods you can use to include ways to make money, and not leave it like this. On that topic, I want to first take a look at one of the less egregious, but still extreme examples of predatory monetization. Not every game in this video features a form of direct gambling to get people hooked. Occasionally, the game itself is the addiction. There's a specific type of game I've been seeing more of on Roblox. Various obby but something is different games. Obby but you're a spider. Obby but you're in a ball. Obby but you're in a tire. Obby but you're on a pogo stick. For the most part, all of these games are pretty much the exact same, but you move slightly different. There are some outliers, but the through line is the same. For what I can find, the most popular and seemingly one of the first games to do this was Obby but you're on a bike by Fortune777. Almost immediately after joining, the game is trying to sink its teeth in. On one side of the screen is the game's basic settings, complete with an in-game store, and 2 different types of daily rewards. The other side is where it gets more interesting. All of the options here either involve a purchase with real money, or some sort of referral program, requesting the player to send invites to members of their friend list. This by itself definitely isn't the worst. You aren't forced to buy anything, but it's taking up a lot of your screen's real estate, just enough to constantly be in view, trying to entice you by just existing while you play. Never out of sight, yet always waiting. The rest of the game is fine. It's somewhat fun, but nothing really special. Obby but you're on a bike is the most benign out of this category. For the most part, it's okay, but it features a form of monetization used by many games in its sphere. The others feature one defining thing that separates Obby but you're on a bike from the rest, that being Now, I do understand if a game is trying to have a specific color palette. I'm not trying to say every game with bright colors is doing it for nefarious purposes, but there is a non-0% of games that look just like this, for more reasons than just beauty. If you've ever taken a look at shows meant for younger audiences, Most, if not all of them, feature saturated colors. Children's eyes are not developed enough at the age they would be watching these shows, so production opts to use brighter colors that are easier and more pleasant for them to view. It captures their attention because it is comprehensible to a toddler age 4. It is not a coincidence that games with very easy gameplay structures, usually played by young kids, use saturated colors. Developers are able to capture the attention of children just enough to keep them playing. Some of these kids might also have Roblox Premium, courtesy of mommy's credit card, which gives these people money for the kids simply existing in their world. And because they keep playing, they become another piece of the player count, meaning more kids will see the amount of people playing and join themselves, causing an infinite feedback loop. And who knows, after a little while, once they've sunk their teeth in deep enough, they might drive their attention over to the store and spend real-world money, not understanding the consequences they just conjured for their parents. I am not a fan of this by any means, but I decided to use this as our introduction to this topic, as Roblox is not the only platform that does this. It's not a new thing. For all intents and purposes, this is just another form of targeted advertisement. It just doesn't, have any real positive effect for anyone besides the developer itself. Now, this isn't really gambling in the cash value sense. By playing games like this, you aren't losing your money, but you are losing your time. Next up, however, is where we're starting to get closer to actual gambling. Loot boxes are not a new gimmick. They were the ticket monetary scheme for many a AAA sludgefest. Nowadays, they aren't too common, but in the late 2010s, you just couldn't avoid them. Such is the case for many older popular Roblox games. Now, this isn't technically gambling. They are chance-based rewards with a buy-in, but usually these don't give you any in-game benefits. It's strictly there if you want to try your luck at a new sheen for your various accoutrements. Because of this divide between actual gambling and whatever a loot box is supposed to be, a senior executive at EA famously had the nerve to try and call their loot boxes surprise mechanics when facing backlash from UK Parliament. Now, this isn't necessarily wrong, but anyone with half a brain can read that and immediately know it's just legal jargon to try and cover their ass. A problem with loot boxes can come from the invitation of an in-game economy. One might look at the various games Valve has put out for comparison. In TF2's case, it comes in the form of various crates and cases. There is a market here, but it's not the main focus or a source of gameplay. Even then, there is something you need to take into account. Although TF2 is a very colorful game, most of these games are made for older audiences, not the child audience of Roblox. If a child sees one of their peers at school with better or shinier tools at their disposal, what do you think they're going to do when they get home? They're going to ask their parents for the same thing. Such is the case for Roblox. If a kid sees someone with cooler toys than them, 9 times out of 10, they're going to ask their parents for the funds to get the same. In this case, Robux. Skins upon skins upon skins upon pets? Oh no. As time has gone on, more and more Roblox games are starting to use actual gambling as a base mechanic, not in the form of poker or slots, but through the lens of gacha. Loot boxes most of the time are exclusively used to obtain cosmetics. Gacha, on the other hand, is how you play the game. Gacha stems from the word gachapon, a type of machine where you insert a small sum of money to receive a random small toy or item in return. Gacha games take that core premise and maximize revenue as much as they can. Percentage-based outcomes. The rarer the unit, the more ludicrous the chance. A pity system, designed to keep consumers engaging with the game. Even if they keep failing the lotto, eventually they will still get a rare unit, making the player feel like they have more of a chance next time around. So, they either keep playing, adding to the game's player count, or they spend money on an in-game booster upgrade that coincidentally helps them in an endless cycle of greed. This is gambling, in every sense of the word. There is no plausible deniability like everything else I've talked about. You can't argue that the main purpose of these games is not to gamble. Down to its very core, gacha games are just another form of gambling. My only question is, why are these games so common? I'm not sure you noticed, but as time has gone on, this specific type of game has slowly crept its way up the ladder, and is now a cornerstone of Roblox as a whole. It honestly feels like these games just did not exist on the same level as they do now, back around the late 2010s or so. This is a wild shot in the dark, but I think I know why this is the case. I would like to introduce you to something that I call the infinite Chud theorem. Final name pending. On Roblox, there are two different types of games. The uncopyable, games that either have mechanics that are too in-depth to directly recreate, or are so niche that there is no point in trying. The other type are money makers, games that aren't too complicated in nature and rake in a heavy profit. Uncopyable games can be money makers, but money makers cannot be uncopyable. The cycle first starts with a money maker. Someone makes a game and said game becomes popular. Other would-be developers see that game and try to copy it in an attempt to ride on its success. For the most part, these games are identical. The only major difference being that the copies hold slightly altered mechanics designed to increase dopamine. And you know, more ways to make money. Out of those copy games, one of the copies finds the most success. And the cycle repeats. The longer this goes on, the more dumbed down the game gets, and the more greed infects the developer, until it either becomes pure slop, or the cycle stops, and people move on to another type of game. Because of how many games like this get pumped out, you usually see the player count dwindle as a genre starts to grow. So most times, these developers opt to use scummier techniques to fish out a paycheck. Pop-ups, direct begging, pricier options. What's available here is a far cry from its origin point. Disregarding the very few unique games available, this is what Roblox has devolved into. Slop, garbage, stimulation with no goal. The system rewards people feeding the machine. And if it works, if it makes money, why stop? And it's only getting worse. Recently, there's been multiple instances of websites using Roblox to make a profit. Back in the day, the bread and butter was trading cosmetics for Robux and, in some cases, real-world money. This is and was heavily against TOS. If they caught you engaging in this market, you were pretty much screwed. Your account banned, your legacy gone. It feels like this is much less commonplace than it was years ago. I vividly remember discussions surrounding these types of sites being rampant in 2017, 2018, somewhere around then. Nowadays, very few of these sites are still in operation, and those that do remain are probably trying to maintain a low profile, as to stay running. The more recent examples of this are arguably worse than they used to be. An article not that long ago featured a look into two different websites that use Robux as a buy-in to gamble. It's the same sort of business model as something like Stake, but easier for kids to get involved, using a currency that is marketed and encouraged for kids to consume. These kids are engaging with something that is inherently illegal and could cause direct harm to them if they are not of sound mind. These sites know what they're doing and only exist because Roblox either doesn't know about them or just doesn't care. There is an active threat, and it is allowed to grow, to continue, and only gets stopped when someone else steps in and sheds light on the situation. When Roblox is trapped in a corner crafted by their own inability to function, that is when they finally decide to do something. From groomers to casinos, if something is a threat to children, Roblox will not take action unless forced to by the general public. Many such cases. If Roblox does not change how it polices this sort of issue, I can only see one thing happening. Counter-Strike is a game that's known for having a gambling scene, directly tied to its economy. The situation surrounding CSGO Lotto was not a one-time controversy. That type of site is ingrained into its identity. People don't usually have a problem with CSGO gambling because Counter-Strike is a game meant for mature audiences. It's not meant for children. But Roblox is. If games like Obby But You're in a Ball keep getting made, if games like Rivals keep getting made, if games like Your Bizarre Adventure, Five Nights Tower Defense, Blox Fruit, Souls RNG, and Pet Simulator keep getting made, if games like this keep getting made, Roblox can and will become another vessel for the CSGO machine. Only worse, because kids are now involved. Kids only maintain their innocence for a finite amount of time. I don't want that time to be cut short by humanity's greed for more.
One man's garbage. garbage is another man's trash. I can't even drive my car without being smashed. It would be a blessing if I could just crash. Who even gives a fuck? I spent all my cash, found me in a pool of vomit, face down in the grass. Hard for me to keep up with how many minutes passed. Didn't say bye to my kids when I seen them last. Tell the Lord he can take me now if he makes it fast. On a side note, I smile every time I see blood.